The biology of unfinished stress. Stress does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like progress, busy days, full calendars, a sense of momentum that never quite stops. And biologically, that may be one of the most damaging forms it can take. Most people are taught to recognize stress only when it becomes overwhelming, panic, burnout, collapse. But longevity research has revealed something far quieter and far more corrosive. Stress harms the body most not when it is intense, but when it never concludes, when it lingers in the background, unresolved, shaping biology without drawing attention to itself. To understand why this matters, we need to look at how stress is designed to function. Stress is not inherently harmful. It is a survival mechanism. It rises to meet a challenge, mobilizes energy, sharpens focus, diverts resources toward immediate action, and then, critically, it is supposed to end. Once the challenge resolves, the system resets. Hormones fall, vigilance subsides, repair begins. Modern life disrupts that ending. Challenges overlap instead of resolving. Pressures roll forward without closure. There's always something pending, an unfinished task, an unresolved decision, a message that might arrive. The stress response stays partially active even during periods labeled as rest. The body never receives confirmation that the threat has passed, because in practical terms, it hasn't. Researchers began to notice a consistent biological signature in people living this way: elevated inflammation without clear illness, flattened cortisol rhythms that no longer rise and fall distinctly, sleep that looks adequate in duration but lacks depth, leaving people tired despite resting. These were not signs of acute stress. They were signs of stress that had become structural. What made this alarming was how invisible it felt. There was no crisis to respond to, no clear moment when something went wrong, just a body quietly stuck in preparation mode, year after year. The individual felt functional, productive, even successful, while biology paid the cost. This unfinished stress did not scream for attention. It whispered. It shaved resilience incrementally. It shortened recovery by degrees. And over time, it accelerated aging without ever announcing itself. One scientist began tracing biological decline back to stress that never resolved. A new picture of longevity emerged. As researchers isolated unfinished stress, they found it behaved very differently from acute strain. Acute stress has a shape. It rises, peaks, and falls. The body knows what to do with it. Unfinished stress rises, then lingers. It never receives a signal that the challenge is over. Biology remains in a state of readiness, conserving energy instead of restoring it. This lingering state alters physiology at every level. Hormones designed for short bursts remain elevated. Immune responses stay partially activated, increasing low-grade inflammation. Metabolism shifts toward efficiency rather than repair. Energy is continually diverted away from maintenance and toward anticipation. Over time, this creates a biological backlog. Cells damaged during daily strain are never fully repaired. Inflammatory signals accumulate quietly. Sleep loses its deepest phases, cutting off the windows where the most powerful restoration occurs. Aging accelerates not because damage increases dramatically, but because repair falls behind. What surprised researchers most was how common this state had become. People were not necessarily overworked in traditional terms. They were over-anticipating, always preparing, always monitoring. The stress response was triggered not by immediate danger, but by possibility. Unfinished conversations, pending approvals, tasks waiting to be addressed. Each one kept the nervous system alert. The body treated potential demand as real demand, because biologically, it might as well be. This explained why vacations often failed to restore energy. The environment changed, but the internal state did not. Stress followed people into places meant for recovery, because nothing had truly ended. The body remained poised to re-engage at any moment. The biology was clear. Stress that ends is processed and cleared. Stress that lingers becomes structure. And once it becomes structure, aging accelerates beneath awareness. The conflict becomes unavoidable when unfinished stress is normalized. Modern systems reward anticipation and responsiveness. The ability to stay available is praised. Constant readiness is framed as dedication. But what looks like commitment externally often translates into biological suspension internally. Researchers observe that people living in this state rarely experience full recovery, even during inactivity. Their nervous systems remained lightly engaged. Heart rate variability stayed suppressed. Repair signals struggled to take control. The body never fully believed it was safe. This was not because people could not relax. It was because the body did not trust that relaxation would last. Unfinished stress kept the future open, and open futures kept vigilance alive. Attempts to resolve this often targeted symptoms rather than structure. Relaxation techniques, mindfulness practices, short breaks inserted into overloaded schedules. These reduced discomfort temporarily, but they did not complete the cycle. Stress paused, then resumed, because nothing had actually finished. The individuals who recovered best did something fundamentally different. They eliminated sources of anticipation. They closed loops, finished projects completely, resolved decisions instead of postponing them, reduced the number of things that could return unexpectedly. When this happened, biology shifted quickly. Sleep deepened. Inflammation dropped. Aging markers stabilized. Not because life became easy, but because it became complete. The conflict, then, is not personal weakness or poor coping. It is structural. Unfinished stress is a natural response of a body living in systems that never clearly end. And until modern life relearns how to finish things, unfinished stress will continue quietly stealing time from the future. The climax of this story is the realization that stress becomes most dangerous when it loses its ending. When challenges never fully resolve, the body never exits survival mode. Unfinished stress does not feel like panic. It feels like readiness, a constant low-level alert that suppresses repair while appearing productive. It is tolerated because it feels normal. The resolution is not about eliminating stress. That was never realistic. It is about restoring endings, completing cycles, giving the nervous system proof that effort is concluded and nothing more is required. Longevity improves when stress is allowed to rise and fall, not hover. When vigilance has an endpoint. When recovery can take priority without competition. Modern culture often praises those who can remain alert indefinitely. Biology does not. Years are not lost during emergencies. They are lost during prolonged anticipation. If aging accelerates in a world without endings, then the solution may be simpler and harder than we think. Not more discipline, not more optimization, just lives that are allowed to finish what they start. Subscribe to join the journey.